This is a very interesting book. It's called Power and Conflict. Not really sure how old this one is, but still, we're getting through it. So, we're listening to Wilfred Owen at the moment, who was in the Second World War, First World War actually. And then he was given something such as, like, by his therapist, if you like, who wasn't in the war, that when he goes back to the battlefield, just jot down poetry, this will help you. But the thing that strikes me as very odd in this, the speaker belongs to a unit of soldiers who were lying in the trenches near a battlefield during the First World War. The unit are trying to rest, but they are anxious that the enemy could attack them at any moment. Yes, so it is, they say here, it's dawn in winter, and the soldiers are exposed to the elements, wind, freezing temperatures, rain and snow. The soldiers imagine returning home to their families in England. But the doors and windows of their homes are shut. The soldiers believe that their sacrifices in battle are the only way to keep their families safe. The men continue to wait in the trenches as the frost begins to cover them. So, when you break that apart, when you're getting this from first-hand experience from this fella.
Is he in there? Yeah. Yeah.
So you get this from first-hand experience. Now, what's he saying? He's saying an awful lot. There's a lot of cues in this that perhaps you don't want to... So, the only way to keep their family, their children and their wives safe is by sacrificing their life.
Yeah.
Well, quite frankly, that doesn't keep your family safe. Because now you being the protector is now gone. You're expended, this person died in battle. You're now gone. Who's going to look after your family now?
Yeah.
And then there's the whole idea, the ideal, that after everybody battles Germany in this war,
Yeah.
and that once they have got after Adolf Hitler, that the soldiers were their next assignment then, reading this backwards, was to then go to Germany and kill all the men, women and children there. In any war, name me any war, except for modern ones, but name me any war that after the soldiers went after the enemy, did they then go after men, women and children? Does Germany still speak German?
Yeah.
Yes. Does Germany still operate in the same way that Germany did before? They had to rebuild, sure, no disrespect to Germans anywhere at all. This was a beef between two groups that couldn't sort this out in any other way. And I'm not slating it, but from my personal belief, it's hard to go there with what you know and bring this here to now. So, this opened the question then, that fear-mongering into soldiers is very high, yes?
Yeah.
That they are using their children and family and wives as a way to say, well, if Hitler gets here, look what he will do to your children. Look what he will do to your wife. But that's not true. And now, as a result of this propaganda, because it states it here, it is propaganda. A book stating anything that I'm reading out here, that I've read here, is just my interpretation of that. You know, I often got sent out of classes for saying things like this, along these lines. But it's just propaganda.
Yeah.
It's fear tactics to make somebody do something that the monarchy at the time, or the government at the time, there's loads of other things in here, we'll cover this in bit by bit. They were not on the battlefield. Everyone says, oh, Winston Churchill was the best. When was he on the front line?
Yeah, he was.
When did he take a rifle? When did anyone there that wanted this war go there? When did any on the other side go here? No, and it states here that poor people, impoverished people, and that includes soldiers, chimney sweeps, prostitutes, and among a lot of other different things. So that includes soldiers.
Yeah.
That they were so poor that this would somehow make our nation rich, which in the end is a lie. That's, again, propaganda, because you had the Great Depression after the war. It impacted people even more. And again, it states that the church was responsible for this as well, that they would take the orphans and that they would then make them go and sweep chimneys. Some of them would die very young, due to the dust. And it's weird because we've come nowhere since then. When we look at this and we hear the story and the accounts from the horse's mouth, which they wrote into poetry, and more often than not, these things get published after they are dead. So, not at the time, because this would be very damaging. So, we now see that there is control over what gets published, when it gets published, how it gets published. I'm sure they've omitted things out of here. So there's a massive amount of control to the narrative, which then means, did you really want to go there in the first place? Did people have a different agenda being told to them to make you go in the first place? And there couldn't be anything published that went against that, whether it was true or false. Because, you know, this, we have to... And now what has that done to modern warfare? How has that changed modern warfare now, with those types of tales that come out? So if that propaganda was put over at Germany, and it was put over in Britain, America, I don't know who else joined up for this, France, Australia. So if all of this propaganda was pushed then, do you know what it's created? The nuclear bombs that you see now.
Yeah.
Which will undoubtedly kill men, women and children.
Yeah.
But again, once you've shot down all aeroplanes and you've gone through all of this and the numbers start going lower and lower, it will be in the trenches, but it will be more like running on the beaches where they're... Because Winston Churchill, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of the stuff he said, he is a fucking idiot. I don't see why he should be on the £5 note. We'll go for the underbelly. In actual fact, he sent all of the troops into the mouth. Into the lion's mouth. The lion held the mouth open and all the troops just ran in. Needlessly massacred loads of people. But based on that pride, based on his own pride, that is still the underbelly. That is still the underbelly. And again, I think that there was not listening to America intelligence under that, you're going to be sending, you see what I mean? And then you have a lot of people needlessly killed in first place in the battle. You know, it's hard to say it now that if you could go back in time, that you would do things differently. But has the population changed, you know? Has it really changed? I think that what we're looking at now is Ukraine, aren't we? There's Ukraine, Russia, America, Britain. Now, is there a way to peacefully end all of that? I mean, Trump's idea, wasn't it, to put a buffer zone there? Could that work? It sounds like a good idea. Does it need to go troops and battle and do every other thing? Probably not. The drum beat towards the war, the beat getting faster and faster and boom, 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 would generate a lot of money. And then could that money on both sides, all sides, be used to go to something good, such as space? You know, after the Cold War once before, in America and Russia, they went the opposite way, and look at what NASA did. Russia was already going over towards Venus and Venusian and different things like this. So it shows that although this money is being generated, there's a choice to be made. And if both the superpowers can get together and be like, we're going to sort this out in an amicable way that works for Ukraine, it works for Russia, it works for America, it works for Britain, it works for the whole of Europe. And then we don't have to go and drop all sorts of nasty bombs on each other, right? That will undoubtedly kill men, women and children. Even if you go into the bunkers, it's not guaranteed. You know, all it takes is for the climate to change, and it is. And for a large amount of ocean water to be where your landmass is with your bunkers won't take that. They won't be able to tolerate that. And especially if it gets as deep as Mariana Trench, it takes tectonic plates to move. There's a lot of things that can go, you know, you're looking at that as a stable environment. In a bunker, when you think about bunker, you rely on a stability in the environment. But with a lot of change going off, are those bunkers really that stable? No. One earthquake, it gets in. Some sort of leak. Take a look at the houses here. When you take a look at the houses here, and the newer houses that are being built, are you going to go into a bunker in Britain and rely on that to be tight, airtight, and not leak, and not decay?
No.
You can't even build fucking houses correctly.
Yeah. Not in the UK, definitely.
And I mean, let's say if we don't go to war with one another, let's say Trump comes out with his beautiful idea, yes, and he actually acts on that. And Russia say, okay, and Ukraine come to the table and are like, you know what, this works for us too. All right, we're all in a mutual agreement here, something comes out of this. what say then afterwards it opens the door to say, Russia, you know, with your cold temperatures that you experience, any tips on building how to keep the cold out during the colder months?
Yeah.
And then if it gets hot in Russia, they're like, you guys understand how hot it gets. Is there a way that we can, and between the two of us, 3 of us, 4 of us, the world over, can we build a building that is multi-adaptable? Doesn't matter where you build this type of building, it will work anywhere regardless of a changing climate. So you've got individuals over in Russia that have to deal with the permafrost. You've got people in America that have to deal with the absolute heat, yes? Mm-hmm. And you've got people in Britain, well, God, I don't even know what day it's going to be tomorrow and what type of climate we're going to have. Is it going to be freezing? Yes, it is. Oh, now we've got a heat wave. Oh, lovely. Should we get the barbecue out? No, we need to put the barbecue away because now it's snowing. So we got a bit of a mix here. And in the EU as well, sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold, flooding, protection against flood. I mean, if everybody came together in that, you're already one step closer to space, of making a module that is capable of withstanding all of the terrain. Again, the Earth is the playing ground at the end of the day. And then do we have to have any more stories where we tell the soldiers, here you go write some poetry. This will help you. I'm going to stay here, acting shrink. But you go off there and put your life on the line. No. Whilst we've got people like Keir Starmer, you'll be in your bunker somewhere, I'm sure. You will be off and away in your little bunker with your little pieces, won't you? Moving the chessboard, isn't it? What is it? That little map?
The maps.
We'll move over here and we'll go here, and I'm sure that will make you feel mighty fine and powerful whilst most of the population suffer. And it's weird that when we go to read a little bit more, right, so we see that it was monarchy, church, government.
Yeah.
That's how it is, church and the monarchy, yes?
Yeah.
So the church abused the people, and especially the poor people, and orphanage, and that there was this disparity among some of the people here. I don't know who they are. It says the speaker's tone. So I'm guessing that's just from the poet. So you've got some real good characters in society that have come along that have really opened the eyes to individuals.
Speaker, he is the one who speaks in the poem.
So we've got some really good, interesting characters here that come and tell you about, they were not afraid to speak out against the church, and they weren't afraid to speak out against the monarchy in these aspects. They were... They come with poetry. Perhaps it was the accepted way to do it at the time, in order to change that. And then, I mean, there has been a lot of very, very, very interesting characters throughout our history, and very few and far between. But if these individuals had leadership positions, I think that they would have done a much better job than what has been. I mean, even with them speaking out, they've created massive changes, haven't they?
Yeah.
That's the thing that is really striking in this. Again, more soldiers that come back, and that's your fate. And it doesn't matter whether the technology has changed over the years. It's still going to be the same fate.
Yeah.
Is it really worth it? Is it really worth that misery, that depression, that... And then how does that work for individuals after the war? They don't seem to want to do anything. They just get really I mean, it's just... Is it really... And here another one that then indicates different things that described in the war.
Yeah.
But again, it's gone... Monarchy. No, church, monarchy... Now we're at government, aren't we?
Yeah.
England expects every man to do his duty. Well, that's funny, really.
Yeah.
It ain't my country when I want to ask about councils and council tax and different stuff like this. It ain't my country when I want changes in it. It ain't my country when I want to do this. It ain't my flag. Apparently nothing belongs to me here. I have to ask everybody if I can do anything. But as soon as war comes knocking... It's your country. It's your flag. But you ask the question, though, if you had a chance to vote anything in Parliament, is it your country?
No.
Is it you? Do you have a right? Do you have a voice? No, you don't.
No, you have to go to these people, those people, any other people, some people over there, some people over here.
And isn't Ing starts like Kingland?
Yeah.
expects every man to do his duty, join the army today. And we talk about conscription and propaganda, phrasing the importance, right, I said that, to do their patriotic duty and serve your country. Well, if it was your country, you would have a right to vote in these. Assisted dying, anyone? Does anyone want to vote? These are rules and regulations that affect you and the end of your life. But a small group get the right to vote for that. Not everybody. And you tell me, is that your country then? It's not your country. It's not your country. It's only your country when the country wants something from you. Or the small group doesn't want to do their own dirty work. That's how it seems to me. That is just, this whole book is just littered with it, and the amount of people that went against the church, the amount of people that went against the monarchy, the amount of people that went against, and you know, it's the same today, really, people going at the government. Hey, you need to do more, you need to do more. But is it really? I don't know. And then the whole war propaganda crap again, we go through it again, the whole war, let's go to war, let's...
Yeah, they love it, don't they?
And it makes you wonder, what is the actual fucking point of war?
First World War excuse was assassination of one person who was supposed to be after the ruler in Austria-Hungarian Empire. So that was excuse, and because the countries and empires before that signed some treaty, and the one that Austria-Hungary started war, they had to, I'm saying in brackets sort of, they had to go to the sites where they signed the treaty.
Well, wasn't it
So that was over one person, excuse on one person.
So one person...
Or let's say two, because his wife died as well, I believe. 2 people then died in a
So what if they assassinated an everyday Joe then? Would anything like that have happened?
No.
Nah. Oh, that was a tragedy. But yet, because it was someone who was up on a political apparatus somewhere, standing somewhere, we got to go in and do something about that because they shot someone that we assassinated. I mean, that is really... Again, but you've got to go and fight for your country, your flag, your families, you know, that your... How about you lot go do it?
Yeah, you go together. You go into the ring somewhere,
Germany is
like
still Germany
boxers,
now, isn't
and
it?
you can box each other or something like that.
No, I don't agree with the supposed concentration camps. I don't agree with any of that, but again, you know, there's that whole...
Concentration means also a lot of people in, or a lot of something in one place, so the name is right, isn't it? Concentrated population.
Yeah, but in war, don't you go at a certain type of individual? Think about it. It's not, I can't think of the word that you say when you go against a certain group. What's it called? No idea. But when you're in war, you are going against a certain group.
Yeah.
So if we go to war with Iraq,
Yeah.
we're going after a certain individuals, yes?
Yeah.
Certain people that look certainly how certain way, talk a certain this.
That would be some
Certain
government or some terroristic organization. Or
Right, so
something
you are
like
going
that.
against a certain nationality then,
Yeah.
which could be looked at as racist, right?
Yeah.
Or xenophobic.
Yeah.
But are you going against the men, women and children afterwards? So these individuals are being taught on both sides, you've got to protect your family here. Which then displays how war has trended now. It has trended to go for men, women and children.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's designed to make collateral damage in all of that.
Yeah, and the more modern the war is, the more civilian dies from statistics I've seen.
we've got a black hole budget because this many people on benefits are costing this much. How much are you costing on spying those bombs?
Yeah.
How much are you spending on that?
Yeah, how much does it cost to make all that?
How much is it costing for the whole world to live in fear? Everywhere. Russia, Germany, America, EU, Britain, everywhere. For all of your arsenal of weapons all the way across the world, for all of us to live in fear.
All the weapons,
all
the
weapons,
soldiers,
all the bullets, all the wages,
all
of the individuals that are redundant soldiers,
Yeah.
not redundant, retained soldiers.
Retained, all the diplomatic forces that are constantly trying to do
So
something.
how many millions, billions,
Billions.
pick a currency and translate it all to one currency?
Yeah.
How much is that costing for every single person on the planet
Yeah.
to live in fear?
Yeah, and people live in fear because they hear that the other nation said about our nation this, and the other person over there who's living in our nation says that in their nation is like this and that, and then there is also word of mouth about something that maybe never happened or was said completely different way, or maybe it was said, but it creates another fear, doesn't it? From ordinary people to ordinary people hearing something about that the other nation doesn't like this nation, and then if they don't like this nation, that's the nation that protects us, so we are scared.
If it's like Germany, for example, say fuck Britain, and someone in Britain goes, yeah, well, fuck Germany. This, you mean, this can cause this international disagreement.
Yeah, because they will say, oh, they are making these weapons, and
no disrespect to Germany whatsoever at all.
Example.
None.
Yeah.
Just an example, yeah. I'm sure they're not going to get epi about anyone who's going to be, I think what the correct terminology translated from the street version of what that means is, I probably have got no intentions of going to Germany, and someone in Germany is like, I got no intentions of going to Britain. I think if you translate that,
you know that I think the war is basically war of some groups that will gain something from
right, so
the
if
war.
there is fallouts due to someone just saying, fuck that nation, and then that person over there going, fuck this nation, then why can't you go to war with one another who's someone who goes, fuck that person over there? You know what? Sod you! And then we have the police come in and they oh, come on, look, guys, are you both going to be arrested if you carry this on? And yet we've got that international treaty over Antarctica, where each nation has signed a treaty.
Yeah.
Every single nation, yes?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice to have a treaty like that? That was about, hey, you know what, we're going to stop war. We're going to utilise this money into fixing things. We're going to utilise it into going to space. We're going to utilise this money and try and bring betterness.
Yeah.
Oh no, we won't need a government if we do that. Yeah, you will.
Wow.
What else would there need to be?
Oh, well, poor people will be able to live
Poor people.
independently.
Yeah.
Oh
well,
my
we see it in
God,
here that
is not
it's
good.
still the same since the days of the monarchy, since the days of the church, since the days of
Yeah.
government, that
And
there isn't enough for
before
poor
that-
people,
Yeah.
and there is middle class and upper class, and then there is lower class, meaning poor.
Yeah, and that is even before this book starts in some 18 something. Long time before that.
And then if we didn't have all of this money put on fear, which is weaponry and trying to blow each other up, what if you joined that and put it into a space program, or a program that was building a shelter for all individuals? I mean, the Earth is a very complex place, really, isn't it? It's very complicated. It's very fear mindset in it. It's all, well, no. It's
People
all fear, isn't it? Fear. Oh, look, we could get blown up, and we got to do this. Yeah, I mean, it's very much, it's very fear mongering.
Yeah, it's people are talking about my country, and they forget that there is only one world
There's only
where
one world,
all the
but
countries
my country.
are, whatever they are,
Divided by water.
divided by some lines on the map in many cases.
Yeah, all lines on a map.
Yeah, or by a language barrier maybe, but still.
Religion,
Yeah,
territory,
Yeah.
flags.
yeah. It's always for the gain of some small group that will gain more influence over those people now behind the border. They will have influence, or they will gain something somewhere, and that's all that it's about.
And then you've got to ask yourself, is there a hope for humanity in this type of mindset? Mindset of hatred. We're taught who we can hate.
Yeah.
Rather than, we should be replacing that with love, shouldn't we?
Yeah. Love and tolerance and...
It's going to be absolutely understandable that one nation is going to act a certain way. Going to have certain amount of behaviours that they have compared to another nation is going to want to speak a different way, and they're going to want to have a certain behaviour to it. I guess it's about finding your place and fitting in it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And sure, there could be underhanded schemes going off, which to try and bring another nation down. But why? Why? Why is that needed? What is the purpose of that? Well, it goes back to an old time where you took money from us and didn't pay us this and took all of this from our land. Oh my days, it's more expensive, isn't it, to make counteracting stuff for that?
Yeah.
In order to protect yourself from it, than it is to just pay and settle the debt. We're going to pay it. What for? Well, in return, there's none of this shit. It's far cheaper, by the way. It's far cheaper than being in this paranoid state. And then we look at things and we'll say, oh, this person's very paranoid. That person, oh, you've got such a mental health, you're so paranoid. And then different levels of paranoia are